In this video, we're going to look at entering data into an Excel spreadsheet. Excel spreadsheets are used, as I said in the first video, to use or to track numbers, but the cells can hold more than just numbers. After all, if you just had a bunch of numbers, that'd be kind of pointless. You need to be able to type in labels and other things. So up here, if I wanted to put a title, let's say this is a very long title. This is a very long title. Oops, long title. You can see something a little bit different with Excel than Word. It allows that information to flow from cell A1 into cell B1. However, if I click on cell A1, I can see up here in the formula bar that this cell contains, this is a very long title, but in cell B1 it doesn't contain anything. So even though it's flowing into cell B1, it's not actually in cell B1. And Excel will allow things to flow over into other cells as long as there's nothing in those cells. If I go to type something into this cell now, let's say I put the number 450, well now it's going to truncate or cut off what is in cell A1. So in this case, if it doesn't flow over and you need to be able to see that, all you have to do is just resize this column. And it's very easy to resize columns in Excel. It's much like Word, except in Word I could click down here anywhere on the line and drag over. I can't do that in Excel. I have to come up here between the A and the B, and notice how the cursor changes, and now I can click and I can drag. And this would be one way to resize it. Another neat little feature in Excel, instead of clicking and dragging, I can just double click. So I'm going to put my cursor between A and B and double click, and you'll see that Excel automatically resizes the column to be just wide enough to contain that title. So as I mentioned, you can type in words, you can type in numbers. If I want to get from one cell to another, if I want to go down, I hit enter and they'll go down to cell A2. If I want to move to the right, I can either use the arrow keys, so the arrows can move all over. That's a very easy way to move. Or as I'm typing, a little bit easier to move right would be just to hit the tab key, since that's closer to your letters. You don't have to move your hands much to get to the tab key. So tab will move right, enter will move down. So that's something to keep in mind as you're typing your data. Make it easier, faster, rather than constantly clicking. I mean, you could take your hands off the keyboard and click, but that would take a lot of time. Some additional things that you should know as you're entering data. Excel will cut off words. However, I'll go over here and type in 250. If I type in 250, what's actually in the cell is 250. If I format this, I'm going to click on this $sign. We'll get to this later. If I click on that, it's going to format it. Now notice it's replaced that 250 with a bunch of pound signs. What's actually in here is still 250. You can see that up here in the formula bar. That's what's actually there. When I click out, a bunch of pound signs. So what on earth is going on here? Well, what's happening here is that the cell isn't wide enough to show all the numbers. And Excel will not cut off a number. It will try to round it if it can. If it can't, it's just going to put a bunch of pound signs in telling you this column's not wide enough. The reason for that, well, over here, if I look at this, I can tell there's something missing. But if I put in a really long number, so let's say I type in this number, well, this number would get cut off somewhere around this 8 right here. And just looking at the number, there's no way for me to know that there's supposed to be additional numbers there if it was cut off. So Excel will do one of two different things here. It'll do this if it can. It will convert them to scientific numbers, or put into scientific notations. So this would be 3.51, etc., times 10 to the 14th. That's what this notation means, that E plus 14 means times 10 to the 14th. So if I can put it into scientific notation, it will. If it can't, it'll just display a bunch of pound signs saying, hey, there's a number here, but the column's not wide enough to display it. And the reason that it can't display this one is because it has $sign and decimal zeros. If I were to format this as accounting as well, you can see in this case what it actually did is it automatically resized the column for me. But over here it didn't. So what I need to do is resize it myself, and now you can see $250. Let's see, this video is getting kind of long, so I'll stop here for now. So that's an introduction to entering data into Excel. In the next video, we'll cover some additional topics.